Hallo, jeg hedder Tyk. I was duped into talking a little bit about Prometheus. It's a time series database that is relatively new, but as you saw in the previous talk, a lot of software already has native support for exposing stats for Prometheus. So I'll present the main tool and what we used it for at Born Fiber, where I work. We started up a small fiber to the home ISP 4 years ago, and we haven't been happy with our monitoring so far. We've been using Zabbix with a Postgres backend, and Postgres can perform beautifully, but the people who wrote Zabbix do not know how to SQL, so it did not perform beautifully at all. So we've been looking for something else, and all the buzz is about Prometheus, so we checked that out, and we've been very happy with what we've been able to build in a very short time. So Prometheus is a time series database. It doesn't do much else. Much of the ecosystem around Prometheus is built from Unix philosophy, so they do one thing and do it well, and it is split into multiple projects, which I really like, rather than more traditional systems that try to be an all-encompassing data store and graph thing and alerting thing and all kinds of other stuff. Prometheus is primarily for white box monitoring, which means you have some logic built into your system or application or device that exposes the metrics in a format Prometheus understands. Of course, not everything has support for this, so it can also do SNMP and stuff like that, but it is primarily for white box monitoring. It is a pull model, so it pulls data in by scraping HTTP targets with a very simple key value format. It looks like this. You have a metric name, then you have a set of brackets with some labels, and then you have a numeric value. That's basically it. So it's very, very easy to write your own exporter that exposes something, whatever you want. So we work with time series in Prometheus. It's an idea that came from Google originally. It's called Borgmon or something internally at Google. And some former employees left and started Prometheus as an open source project because they found that using time series data and trends is a superior way of doing monitoring and alerting. It is, as you will see, it is a very powerful way of simply looking back at the numbers or the change over time in numbers. So a time series is a combination of a metric name, in this case probe duration seconds, and a set of labels. This is from our monitoring at work, and the stuff in red is the labels we've added to this job. This is a CPE ping job, so it's basically a customer's equipment being pinged. And the labels identify stuff like which circuit type is it, and which layer 2 host device and which layer 3 device is it being terminated on. And all this, we can use this later to, for example, easily make a graph for only one switch or one router to see trends across equipment and stuff like that. Yeah, like I said, it's all plain text and it's very easy, provided that you have the data structured already, which we do in a big relational database. It took us a few hours, half a day, to build the exporter, which exported all our circuits with all the nice labels we wanted. And that's, I think, where the real power of Prometheus comes in, with these labels, so you can give your data multiple dimensions. You configure Prometheus with one or more scrape jobs and a list of targets for each job. We scrape at the moment every 60 seconds, which is way more than we were able to with Zabbix, and it uses almost no I/O and no CPU, and it performs brilliantly. It is very, very nice. I've included a screenshot from we're not at all done with it, but this is our current jobs and number of hosts and, targets. And mostly, as you can see, it's pinging and SNMP scraping CPEs and various equipment in the network, and some of them are down for various reasons. I'm sure nothing serious is wrong. But yeah, every 60 seconds it gives us a very nice resolution on the data, and we can go back and, with all the labels, do very cool stuff. You query the data in Prometheus using PromQL, which has nothing to do with SQL, but it is a query language, and this is one of the more complex queries we have in our setup. But I wanted to include it because it it gives a nice overview of what's actually possible. The Grafana, Prometheus itself is just a time series database, so you can use Grafana or other front ends, and we use Grafana because it is lovely. This screen shows a change in the number of customers who switched from up to down or down to up. So the negative axis are customers going down, and the is there a pointer on this? No? Okay. Well, beneath the zero line are deliveries going down or customers going down. So about 10 a.m. this morning, something happened, and you can see I'm pointing to the, we can see that 10 fiber customers went down, and then shortly after went up. And we can do this by looking at, by grouping the results by circuit type and interface. We call the circuit type is fiber or wireless or whatever. And we basically sum the change over time in windows. So depending on the range of time we're looking at, this will do the right thing, basically. So we're looking at an hour here or something. So it's 5 minutes intervals or whatever. And it shows the change over time. And it's very, very easy to see if something changed. Something, we don't know what yet, but something changed definitely there at 10. Something went down and went up again. And we can easily see what it is and investigate closer. And this PromQL is a very powerful language, and I'm not very good at it actually, but we are getting better. This is still new to us, but we are very excited about the possibilities it has given us. And it was easy to integrate once we had the dashboards in Grafana, we could put them in our customer service system and provisioning system, and our support agents can easily see bandwidth and latency, which is always up to date. Very nice. Okay. So I'll quickly go through a couple of the other players in the ecosystem. Since Prometheus likes to scrape data in a certain format over HTTP, and not everything supports it yet, they built something called Blackbox exporter, which can do HTTP and ICMP targets and stuff like that. And we're using that for. This is a screenshot from some of our management interfaces on the customer routers, and we have a job called ICMP 3 seconds, 100 bytes, 3 second timeout, 100 byte packets, and one failed and 2 are successful. And this is just just a small example. But basically, the Blackbox exporter takes care of scraping data and exposing it to Prometheus. And there's similarly an SNMP exporter, which we use for interface scraping and stuff like that. You configure it with the MIPS it needs to scrape and the communities and so on. And Prometheus knows which targets to target, so they kind of work together. But I really like, I'm a more Unix guy than a network guy, as some of you may know, and I really like that they do one thing and do it well. It is throughout the whole community and ecosystem. It's very nice. The configuration of the SNMP exporter, just to show you, basically tell it which MIPS to walk and which communities and which SNMP version, as you would expect. It is all YAML configuration and pretty easy to work with through Ansible or something like that too. It also supports a lot of dynamic discovery types, so you can look up on a REST API or on your orchestration system or whatever you're using for configuring your things. Right, and finally, when you configured some limits in Prometheus, like we did with the Grafana interface I showed you, it's pretty easy to use those limits and make Prometheus send an alert to another piece of software called Alertmanager, which handles all the sometimes complex tasks of grouping and making dependencies and sending notifications and stuff. So all that stuff is taken out of Prometheus and is on a separate project called Alertmanager, which also works very well and can talk to all the stuff you would expect it, like Slack and stuff. So that works well too. So basically, go home and check it out. There's a demo on some website. I don't know, are the slides going to be available on the website? Maybe, yes. So you can go find the presentation or just install it from your packet manager and try it out. We literally went from let's try this out. And 2 days later, we had a fully functional, very high-performing thing. And a week or two later, we retired the old thing because it was so much better. So, and there's something called confirmation bias. I don't know if you know it, but when you've heard a word, learn a new word, you seem to hear it everywhere. And after I started hearing about Prometheus, it is amazing how many places suddenly has Prometheus support built in. It's pretty fascinating. And an example of that is the talk right before the Go routing daemon. So that can expose metrics, and Prometheus can eat them directly. It's very nice. Please, if you've used it or if you want to know something, find me or Peter, and we'll be happy to discuss this. And if you have any questions, I think we have a few minutes.
Yeah, any questions?
Great.
No?
Yes?
First question, I don't know if you can answer it, but if you feel comfortable to answer it, what was the previous thing that you retired?
Zabbix.
Zabbix.
Yes.
And have you tried Prometheus against other things like Timescale DB or other time series databases? Or maybe you will?
Not at YQ. I've worked with a few other time series databases, but not at this scale.
Okay.
So we didn't have. Well, we didn't have time to go through a lengthy. It seemed like Prometheus had some momentum, and it seems to still have. So we tried that, and it's nice to see that the rest of the internet society seems to agree that this is the direction we're heading. So that's
Okay.
nice.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah. Sure.
Anybody else? No?
Cool. Thank you.
Give a big applause to